Hello and welcome. In this episode we'll be detailing the upgrade of Swift Electrical to Infinite Electrical. Swift Electrical was created in 2011, providing standard 2D symbols for electrical components. The library contained 4 objects, including outlets, switches, lights and meter boards, and the 2D symbols were taken from an electrical standards schedule which provided a lot of detail on how to symbolize certain components. This resulted in an accurate and extensive 2D representation for the library parts. The 3D component was left as a simple extrusion with adjustable sizes, as the purpose of this tool was electrical documentation, not 3D visualization. However, now more than a decade down the track, we have developed extremely flexible and efficient 3D geometric methods, starting with our Infinite Anything tool and then using the same functions in our Infinite Water tool. We have now imported this geometric method into the Swift Electrical toolset. And of course, we have coupled this with our unique component catalogues feature, which allows you to store all the custom geometric configurations you create. Hence, the Swift Electrical library is now the Infinite Electrical library. So let's take a closer look. This new interface is something you may recognize from our other objects. This is where we access our catalogues to select pre-configured components. We can build our electrical elements directly from these components, or we can use them as a starting point and customize the geometry. The display you're looking at is called our designer menu. You can toggle this on and off using this icon. When the designer menu is off, you have access to every parameter of each element. When the designer menu is on, you only have access to the catalogue for that element. As we are dealing with electrical components, the 2D representation is symbolic, hence independent of the 3D geometry catalogues. Therefore, in the interface, the symbolic display precedes the catalogues. And you can go straight back to the catalogues using this link. As you can see, we've added some initial components to the catalogues. In the future, we plan to add a lot more, obviously. However, the purpose of our Infinite tools is so you can create your own with ease. Let me show you a quick example of how to do that. Let's say we want to create a new light switch that's horizontal with 3 light switches and is in a different style to these light switches that we currently have. So let's start with the closest component. Choose the horizontal 2 switch light and we customize that. Now we go into the design, and here you can see that our components are made up of a switch panel and switches. The switch panel we want to remain the same. We just want to have 3 switches instead of 2. So if we go back to our configurators menu instead of this designer menu, we can have a look at the element 2. Let's minimize element 1. And we can see there's just one quantity. So the quantity is controlled not here in the element, but rather in the assembly, where element 2 has 2 components. So we want to change this to 3, and we want to adjust the positioning. So there is a simple 3 switch light switch. So we could save that now if we wanted to. Just be a matter of going and saying that's 3 horizontal, because we've got the switch panel and the switch are still our components. This is how they are assembled, and we can go upload, download and lock, because that sets it to that element. So now we've locked that to this component. So you see if we try and change this number, it's locked down. So let's say you now want to change the style to a modern illuminated touch button. Okay, so we're going to leave our panel as the same. We're going to unlock this. We're going to go down to our switch here, and we'll go to that actual page. So this is the component that we want to modify. Now, due to the fact that this is a component item, it'll be locked, so we need to unlock that. You can see it's set to switch. So we'll set that to custom, or you could hit the unlock button there. Reduce that again. Now here we've got an extrusion that has 8 points, so it's basically an extrusion with rounded corners. However, what we want to create now is, rather than a rectangular extrusion with rounded corners, we want a circular extrusion, but we also want that extrusion to have a little recess with an LED sort of light ring in there. So rather than an extrusion, we're going to use a revolve so we can create that profile. Now before we change this to a revolve, this is an 8-sided shape that won't necessarily go into a revolve very easily. It'll probably have some negative values in it as well. So it's best to temporarily turn on this default, so it sets it back to a more default sort of shape that a revolve can handle. So we just click default and then we turn that off again. It brings us back, so you can see it's defaulted now to this large element here. We change that to a revolve. Yes, we want it over 360, and that is our element, the size of which is going to be a lot smaller than this. But we can handle all that in the 2D view. So simply click OK. We turn our guides onto detail components. Click OK, and here we can see our revolve. So we've got 3 of them because there's 3 light switches. We only need to change one of these elements. You'll watch the other 2 change at the same time. Okay, so that's our basic shape there. Let's have a look at that in 3D. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to need to do is rotate that. So angle X, Y, Z. So let's just set that to 0 for now. Click OK. So we know what direction it's facing originally, and we'll rotate the Z axis 90 degrees. Okay, and then we'll adjust the positioning. Go back to the first element, we can see the height of that is 9, so Z position, Y position in this regard because everything's rotated, so that can be 9. Click OK. Now that's not a really flat surface touch button sort of scenario, so that would probably need to be recessed even further, and maybe even an extrusion cut out of this shape so that they stand out nicely within the shape. Now let's do the little LED ring light. So we want to put on our void element, but this is going to be show, it's going to be matter, it's also going to be a revolve 360 for positions, should all be centralized. Yes. Click OK. Go to the F2, and now you can see this revolve here. And now we just insert this shape into this little groove. Go have a look in 3D. Okay, it looks like there's something going on there. We need to change the material. Let's make it something that's going to stand out. Okay. Okay, so there you can see you have your more modern type. Now we want to set these back a little further. So if we pull these back in, however, that positioning really should be handled at the assembly level. So if we go back to here, that should really be set to 0. Then we go into here, and we save this as switch LED, upload, download, and lock. Now we'll go back to the assembly page, and we'll go into our assembly, and we'll position them here. So you can see we've got their X and Y positions. So we'll do the Z position here as well, or Y in this case. So we had it at 9, we're going to -4, so let's do 5. Okay, you can see it just breaking through the surface there, so let's do 5.5. Now we can save this as switch 3H, or maybe we call it switch LED, because we did call these switches switch LED, so switch LED 3 horizontal makes sense, and upload, download, and lock. Now if we turn our designer menu back on, we'll see those elements are here in the assembly, and they're also here as well in the component catalogs. However, they don't have images. So in order to give them an image, you need to save an image. So you could just take a screenshot of this element here. So I could just do print screen, go into paint or similar, select the image. Now one thing to note is that the images need to be rectangular, so I'm going to cut this, and it's 219, so I need to make sure that it's going to be 219 high. This will just make sure that I don't get any distortion in this image when you see it in the interface. And I need to save this image into the loaded library using the same name as I used for the element. So I will do File, Save As, find my library, and save it in here. And it was a switch 3H, so I'll start with that. It was a switch 3H and LED. Save, and now if we simply reload the libraries, that'll bring that image file in, and now you can see we have an image file for that component. And it's that simple. While light switches may not be that exciting, we also have the same capacity within our light tool, and this will allow you to create all the different little components and assemblies that you need for your design. And this is also a great feature for those who enjoy designing lighting fixtures for bespoke projects. So now you can use accurate 3D geometry of electrical components in unison with your 2D symbolic diagrams. The next phase for the development of this tool will see it transform into an intelligently connected system. There will always be the individual components, but we would like to see this integrated into an intelligent system that can calculate loads and the like. We hope you have enjoyed seeing the upgrades to our electrical library, but more importantly, we hope you look forward to exploiting these tools in your ArchiCAD processes. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.